Got a lot of global stardom to her. She's had some incredible results and she's beaten players like Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, so she's the real deal, already top 50 in the world.
There is a number circulating right now inside the tennis world that nobody can explain. A number so strange that broadcasters are whispering about it in production meetings, that tournament directors are staring at on spreadsheets and shaking their heads, that even seasoned analysts are refusing to say out loud because it sounds made up. 500,000 people tried to get inside a stadium to watch one 20-year-old girl play tennis. And she didn't even win the title. So what happened? What is it about this one player that makes ticket queues crash? That makes grown commentators lose their composure on live broadcasts? That makes an entire continent stop scrolling the moment her name appears on a screen? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to understand why people are calling this the strangest rise women's tennis has seen in years, and why the loss that was supposed to end her story might actually be the moment that proves it has barely begun. Picture Berlin in early summer, grass courts glowing under a pale European sun, the kind of tournament that usually exists quietly in the shadow of bigger events, a place where casual fans don't even know the draw exists until the finals. Except this year is different. This year, there is a name on the bracket that is pulling eyes from places that have never cared about a WTA grass court event in their lives. Manila, London, Los Angeles, all suddenly fixated on the same small patch of green in Germany. Her name is Alex. And 2 weeks before anyone in Berlin even picked up a racket, something happened in Birmingham that nobody saw coming. She won a title there, which on its own is nice, forgettable even. The kind of headline that scrolls past in 5 seconds. But it's not the trophy that matters. It's what was happening in the background while she lifted it. Nearly 4 million people were watching that final live. At the exact same moment, not spread across days, not stitched together from replays. 4 million human beings staring at their screens in real time for a tournament that, on paper, barely registers on the sport's radar. Let that sit for a second. Grand Slam finals don't always pull that. Some WTA 1000 finals. The tournament's just one tier below the biggest events in the sport. Don't pull that. And yet a challenger-level final, the tennis equivalent of an undercard fight, somehow became appointment viewing for millions. Something was already shifting before she even touched a grass court in Berlin. Something the sport wasn't ready for. Think about the mechanics of that for a second, because the more you sit with it, the stranger it gets. 4 million simultaneous viewers requires infrastructure. It requires a broadcast partner who didn't expect the traffic, servers that weren't provisioned for a challenger final, commentary teams who walked into the building expecting a sleepy afternoon assignment and walked out trying to explain, live, on air, why their phones wouldn't stop buzzing with messages from colleagues asking what on earth was happening on court. Somewhere in a production truck outside that Birmingham venue, somebody was staring at a viewership graph climbing in real time and quietly recalculating what this tournament was actually worth to broadcasters next year. That's the part casual fans never see. The panic behind the scenes when an audience shows up that the business side of the sport never planned for, and that audience didn't fade after the trophy was lifted. It compounded. So she arrives in Berlin carrying that strange electricity with her, the kind of quiet, dangerous momentum that makes opponents nervous before the first ball is even struck. And what she does next doesn't calm the noise. It detonates it. First in her path is Elena Rybakina, not some unranked qualifier. Not a name you'd need to look up, but a Grand Slam champion. A player whose serve alone has ended the hopes of higher-ranked opponents in straight sets. The kind of player who is supposed to end runs like this before they become stories. And Alex walks through her. Then comes Alina Svitolina, a former world number 3, a veteran with the scar tissue of 100 big matches, somebody who has stood across the net from legends and survived. And Alex walks through her too. By now you'd expect cracks, nerves, a young player buckling under the weight of suddenly being the center of attention. Instead, what people watching courtside describe is almost eerie. A calm that doesn't match her age, a stillness in her shot selection, a coldness in the big points that veterans spend a decade trying to develop. Every match she wins, the crowds outside the grounds grow a little larger. Every match she wins, more people who have never heard her name before start typing it into search bars at 2 in the morning. Every match she wins, The story stops being about one tournament and starts becoming something else entirely, a phenomenon with its own gravity, pulling in fans who don't even particularly follow tennis. Players in the locker room start noticing it too. The way heads turn slightly when her name is mentioned. The way practice courts that used to be half empty suddenly have a small crowd pressed against the fence whenever she's scheduled to hit. Even broadcasters covering other matches on outside courts find themselves cutting away to check her score. Because their own viewers are messaging them, demanding updates, treating her progress through the draw like breaking news rather than a tennis result. There's a particular kind of pressure that comes with that level of attention, the kind that has buried promising careers before, where the noise outside becomes louder than anything happening on the scoreboard, where a young player starts playing for the crowd instead of the point in front of her. And yet nothing about her game suggests she even notices it. If anything, the bigger the moment gets, the simpler her tennis becomes. Fewer wasted shots. Fewer unforced errors creeping in during long rallies. More of that strange stillness that makes commentators run out of ways to describe it without repeating themselves. And then, right when it feels like nothing can stop this, somebody does. Her name is Linda Noskova, a Czech player with her own quiet menace. And in the semi-final, she doesn't just beat Alex, she dismantles the aura around her. Plays with a composure and precision that leaves no room for argument, no asterisk, no excuse. The run is over. No finale, no trophy. Just a girl walking off a grass court in Berlin with a loss attached to her name for the first time in weeks. And here is where you'd expect the story to end. Here is where, in any normal sports narrative, the cameras turn away, the headlines move on to the eventual champion, and the name fades back into the noise of a packed tour calendar. Except that's not what happened. Because 3 days after that loss, while she's still processing the sting of a semifinal exit, a number starts circulating that nobody in the sport can quite make sense of. Nearly 500,000 ticket requests across the season, tied to one player. Not the world number one, not a reigning Grand Slam champion, not any of the established faces who have spent a decade building their fame brick by brick. A 20-year-old who just lost in a semifinal in Berlin. How does that happen? How does a player lose the biggest match of her tournament and somehow walk away with a record that the entire WTA, with all its legends and its champions, has never produced before? The answer, it turns out, isn't really about Berlin at all. It's about something that's been building quietly for months. Something that finally reached a tipping point the moment millions of people watched her dismantle a Grand Slam champion on live television. Because here's the thing about fame built on substance instead of hype. It doesn't need a trophy to validate it. It needs proof. And Alex had already given the tennis world more proof in 2 weeks than most players give in 2 years. Think about what ticket demand actually represents. It's not passive. Nobody requests a seat in a stadium because they vaguely recognize a name from a highlight reel. People wait in digital queues, refresh ticket portals at midnight, fight through crashed servers, because they believe, actually believe, they are about to witness something that will matter later. Something they'll want to say they saw live. That kind of conviction can't be bought with marketing budgets or sponsorship deals. It has to be earned point by point, match by match, in front of people who are watching closely enough to notice the difference between a player who's good and a player who's about to become something else. And the fans driving these numbers are not coming from one place. That's the part that should genuinely unsettle the rest of the tour. In the Philippines, watching her compete has become something closer to a national ritual. Public screenings, entire neighborhoods gathering around shared televisions, the kind of communal emotional investment usually reserved for a country's biggest stars in its biggest sport. But what's happening now stretches far past that. European fans who tuned in out of curiosity during the Rybakina match stayed because of what they saw in her hands during pressure points. American audiences who caught a clip of her dismantling Svitolina found themselves searching for the next match time. This isn't regional pride translating into global numbers anymore. This is something rarer. Strangers across continents, with nothing in common except a screen, deciding independently that this is a story worth following in real time. Sports marketing people have a phrase for a fan base that builds organically across borders without a single coordinated campaign behind it. Earned reach, the hardest thing in the industry to manufacture. Because the moment an audience suspects it's being manipulated into caring, the whole thing collapses. Nobody told Filipino fans to fill public squares for her matches. Nobody paid a London teenager to stay up past midnight for a quarterfinal 7 time zones away. It happened because enough people, independently in enough different places, watched the same thing and reached the same conclusion at roughly the same time. This one is different. And we should be paying attention before everyone else catches on. So, let's go back to the question we started with. What does it actually mean that a player who didn't win the tournament walked away with the most coveted ticket in the sport? It means the result was never really the headline. The headline was always the manner, the calm in moments that should have broken her, the tactical maturity that experienced players take years to develop, the sense watching her live that you might be looking at the early chapters of something much bigger than a single season. People aren't buying tickets to see if she wins. They're buying tickets so they can say they were there before everyone else knew. There's a particular kind of fame in sports that's almost impossible to fake, and almost impossible to manufacture through any amount of promotion. The fame that comes from being early to something real. The fans flooding ticket portals for Alex aren't reacting to a marketing campaign. There isn't one. They're reacting to raw competitive evidence, stacked match after match, tournament after tournament, until the weight of it became too large to ignore. And that's what makes the Berlin loss so strange when you really sit with it. In any other story, a semi-final exit would be a step backward, a stumble, a reason for the noise to quiet down. Instead, it became confirmation. Because if Birmingham was a question, is this real? Or is this a flash of form that fades the moment the spotlight gets brighter? Then Berlin was the answer. She didn't fade. She beat a Grand Slam champion. She beat a former world number 3. She reached the Final Four of a major event on a surface that exposes weaknesses ruthlessly. And the only thing that stopped her was a player who simply played better tennis on one specific day. That's not collapse. That's not someone exposed. That's someone who pushed deeper into elite competition than almost anyone expected, and the only thing waiting on the other side of that depth was an opponent good enough to end the run, not someone who simply outclassed a pretender. There's a difference, and tennis people know the difference instantly. And here's where it gets even more unsettling for the rest of the tour. Because this entire surge, the 4 million live viewers, the 500,000 ticket requests, the sudden global fixation, none of it happened at her peak. She is not the finished product. She is not playing the best tennis she will ever play. She is still developing shots, still building out the parts of her game that separate very good players from legendary ones, still early enough in her career that her ceiling remains, genuinely, unknown. Which means the numbers we're looking at right now, the ones already breaking records set by established Grand Slam champions, are baseline numbers. A floor, not a ceiling. So picture this. Picture the version of her 2 years from now, 3 years from now, once the technical gaps close and the experience catches up to the talent. Picture stadiums already struggling to meet demand for a player still finding her final form, multiplied by whatever growth comes next. What happens when that name is no longer rising but arrived? There's a moment late in the story that tells you almost everything you need to know about who she actually is. And it's not a moment of celebration. It's the walk off the court after the Noskova loss. No theatrics. No collapse. The kind of quiet that belongs to someone already turning the page before the ink on this chapter has dried. Already replaying the match in her head not for sympathy, but for information. The specific kind of stillness you only see in competitors who treat a loss as fuel rather than verdict. Future opponents should pay close attention to that walk, because history suggests that players who respond to defeat that way don't stay beatable for long. So when you zoom all the way back out, past the Birmingham Trophy, past the 4 million live viewers, past the wins over Rybakina and Svitolina, past even the semi-final loss that was supposed to be the end of this particular chapter, what you're left with is one inescapable fact. The tennis world just watched a 20-year-old lose a match and somehow become more famous because of it. Not despite the loss, because of everything the loss revealed about how far she'd already come and how much further people now believe she's going. The 500,000 ticket requests aren't a fluke. and they're not hype detached from substance. They're the market doing what markets do best, reading the data in real time and arriving at a verdict before the official rankings catch up. Every major institution in the sport, every broadcaster recalibrating coverage plans, every tournament director quietly redesigning ticket allocation models, is responding to the same signal. Something is happening here that the existing systems were never built to measure. And maybe that's the real story hiding underneath all of this. Not the loss in Berlin. Not even the staggering numbers attached to her name. But the fact that an entire sport, with all its history, all its legends, all its decades of established stars, is currently being reshaped by a player who hasn't even reached the part of her career where she's supposed to peak. The Birmingham trophy will fade from headlines eventually. The Berlin semi-final will become a footnote in a much longer career retrospective someday. But the 500,000 people who tried to get into a stadium to watch her play, they won't forget that they were paying attention before the rest of the world caught up. And if the trajectory holds, if the calm under pressure stays calm, if the games keeps closing the gaps it still has left to close, then the strangest part of this entire story might not be what already happened in Berlin. It might be that we are still right now watching the floor.